He could come into a room and just light it up. That energy just exuded off of him. You watch the movie Animal House, he probably has 10 lines in the whole movie, but he just steals the movie because of his physicality, and it's just so entertaining to watch. His grandmother, Nina, who didn't speak English in the house, John found that the way that he could sort of get out of trouble with her and entertain her was by doing physical comedy. She didn't understand what he was saying.
He used to turn his eyelids up at the dinner table while we're eating, try to get us to laugh a lot.
John is an Albanian kid. He looks different. His hair is kind of wild. So he finds that he can find belonging by making people laugh. And so John becomes a class clown at a very early age. He would be up for days at a time. There was something about John where he just did not want the party to end.
In the spring of 1980, even Belushi realized that his drug problem was no laughing matter. He hired bodyguard Smokey Wendell, not for protection from attackers, but from drugs.
When John was out on a Saturday night, there was nothing he wanted more than to find drugs, and he'd sneak into the bathrooms, but Smokey was always right there waiting for him.
Smokey was keeping John at an arm's length from his addictions until Belushi made a critical error in judgment.
He had been clean for a few months, and he told Smokey that he was clean, he didn't need him anymore.
John was able to stay clean for well over a year, but in the strictest sense of, addiction terminology, John wasn't sober, he was just abstinent. He basically subcontracted out his willpower to someone else, which is a short-term solution, but it's not a long-term solution.
I think for John Belushi, there was almost a perfect storm of personality inertia that contributed to his early death. It was a very vicious cycle of addiction. Because he has this crazy work ethic, he knows that he needs to be on all the time, and he's really thought that the drugs are what makes his work really spin.
Oh my God! All right, how's everybody?
Matt Foley, I think, is probably his character that was most well known. It's Chris really at his best because it was just showcased his really crazy energy.
I am 35 years old. I am divorced, and I live in a van down by the river.
There's an early story about Chris Farley. He was watching Animal House with his dad and saw his dad just very heartily belly laughing at Belushi, and he realized that he could get his dad's attention by making him laugh. In his own family, he was the class clown at a very young age. His brothers described him as a wind-up toy, meaning they could go tell him to do something, any prank, and he would just go do it, just to entertain the family.
Pranks, pratfalls, punchlines, they became Chris's way to get noticed at home.
He has two ideas in his head at the same time. One being, he hates being the fat guy that people laugh at. He hated when people laughed at his dad for being overweight. But it was the thing that brought in the most laughs for him. So that sketch really summed up so much about Chris.
At age 26, Chris Farley had risen through the Chicago Comedy Club circuit to land a spot on the cast of Saturday Night Live. He was quickly becoming one of the show's most popular performers. But with fame came an increasing appetite for drugs and alcohol.
When you're involved with comedy, it's not hard to find things like cocaine, and you find it helps your performances. And when you have that addictive personality to begin with, especially the level Chris had it, it's sort of the perfect storm. Going to Saturday Night Live is the dream of everyone, and there's nothing Chris wouldn't do. And if that meant taking drugs to stay up, and not just up, but he had to be maniacally up. That dream was so all-consuming for him that I think he would do whatever it took.
In the summer of 1991, he returned to Second City for what should have been a triumphant homecoming appearance.
Chris had built up a crazy tolerance to the point where he would get so drunk and so sloppy that he wasn't even making sense anymore. And so I think that kind of came to a head when he returned to Second City after a couple years in New York. He's just one of those people that just could walk into a room and make everyone laugh. It just radiated off of him. And he was a genuinely nice guy, too.